Hey, it's Mo. I am pretty excited about this one. Sometimes you just see a palette or whatever, and you're like, oh yeah, that's me. That's the one I've been waiting for, and that's how I feel about this palette. I got it last night. I didn't have time to try it. I looked at it, I gazed upon it, and I'm very excited about it. I have high hopes, which I hope are not dashed by the end of the video. And my family's asleep, so I'm being quiet and there's hardly any sunlight. It's a dreary day, but I'm still gonna film, darn it, because I'm really excited about this. I am not here to impress. I just really want to talk about this palette. So this is from Nars. It is part of the Studio 54 collection, which is their holiday collection, and it is the Hyped eyeshadow palette. Packaging for the Studio 54 is all pretty much the same. It's got the gold Nars and then the Studio 54 here, which seems like a very Nars thing. Studio 54 and disco and like the whole vibe. Here it is. Let's see if we can get a good view of it there. It's got little stars all through it. See that? And like when the light hits it just the right way, it is really, really pretty packaging. But that's not the reason I got it. The reason I got this palette was because it's the first Nars palette ever that I really felt like those are my shades, and those are shades I will use, and I am excited about it. So here they are in the Nars Hyped eyeshadow palette, right here. These are my kind of colors. I love pinks, I love roses, I like neutrals, I like this little warm pop of peach and the super bright pink. There's a nice dark black here. It says it has sparkle in it. We're gonna look at that and see how sparkly it is. There's no glittery shades in here. There are shimmers, but no glitters. And I feel like that has been harder and harder to find from a lot of brands. Everything about this palette just said, wow, I really, really like this. It was $59, and I don't take that lightly. That is a high price tag for one eyeshadow palette. 12 shadows. They are 1.2 grams each, which I must say impressed me. You know, a lot of palettes are less than 1 gram per pan. This is actually more than 1 gram per pan. It's 1.2 grams. And when I pulled this out of the box, this is smaller than I thought it would be. It's not a mini palette, but for some reason I thought it would be larger. But I feel like they used every bit of space in this palette and they used it for eyeshadow, and I am all about that. Because these are good sized pans. There's no shade names here. The shade names are all on the back, and then they do this thing where it's like they put the shades on the back, but then which way do they reference them in the palette? You know what I mean? You know, you just kind of go with, oh, I'm going to use this light one, or I'm going to use this bright pink or whatever. So I think that's kind of the way we'll do it. So I'm going to swatch it. I'm going to do an eye look. I really hope it turns out well. If it doesn't, well, life is full of disappointments. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. Let's try it. Oh, that feels very soft. That's promising. So does that. Okay. So there's the first 4. I think we'll just do them all right here. I don't know how the lighting's going to treat us here. As I said, dreary day here. That's what we have for the first 4, which are pretty neutral. This one hardly shows up on me because of the shade. Let's go here where there's a bit more color, kind of a peach. This one's very shimmery, pretty pink that I'm hopeful for. And then this one, this is almost a bronzy, I'd say a bronzy shimmer. There they are. We're gonna just put them down here. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Hopefully that doesn't mess up. Oh, that's pretty. Look at that. Very nice. Shimmers, as is often the case, the shimmers are swatching more like whoo, impressively than the mattes. And then here's the last row. So we've got that bright pink, kind of this mauve-y color. Boy, these feel nice. The shimmer, that's pretty. Oh, that one hardly shows up on me at all. And that turned out more charcoal than I would have guessed. So here's all the swatches. They felt beautiful to the touch, very soft, very nice. I will admit, I don't think these are swatching like boom, like in your face. This I would have expected to be a darker, like more pigmented black, at least on a swatch. And these are fairly light. This swatched very nicely. The shimmers down here are very nice. What I really want to see is how they do on the eye and do they blend nicely. That's kind of my main thing. So let's give it a whirl. Here's how excited I was about this particular palette. I washed my makeup brushes. I don't do that very often. This goes in the crease. I'm just going to use this mirror. Let's see what we get on the eye. Because the eye tells the tale, doesn't it? You know what's surprising me? This color at least, and I'd say based on the swatches, this palette seems more muted than it looked when I saw it, you know, online and when I looked in the pans. Now, is that necessarily a bad thing? For me, probably not, because I don't do a lot of super bold looks. But if you are looking for crazy punch in these shadows, I'm not sure we're gonna get it. And I want to try several of these, so I'm also gonna go with this shade in more of the, as people say, the true crease, which is just a little deeper in here. A little more like really going into where that socket line is. To see how these blend together and give it a little bit more depth. That's very pretty. I like that shade very much. There's powder kick up in here. Yeah, you can definitely see it on that one. It's not extreme, but I know some people just really don't have time for that. But this is blending in very nicely to the first color I applied. And I spent virtually no time on that at all. I'm just gonna wipe that brush off a little bit and go back into this original color. I wanna put this right here. Kind of dragging it across from the outer corner in like this. I like the way that's applying. Now again, I'm going to tell you this is not a punchy shade. And I'm going to put this same color slightly above where I put the other one here. So I'm just kind of blending out that edge with that initial color. It seems like we should use one of these bright pinks. So I'm going to go in with a flat shader brush, and I think I'm going to go in with this, I'm going to call it a rose. Picked up a lot. Again, some powder in the pan. See what that looks like. Ooh, that's pretty. Now that's got some color. That is so pretty. Pretty. I think you could, you know, have some flexibility with these, meaning if you want a more of a sheer wash, I think that's doable. If you want more punch, you can get it. I'm just gonna flip this over to the clean side and blend in from the inner corner out to kind of blend that line. Okay, that I really like. This one is somewhat shimmery. So I'm gonna put that down, and then I'm gonna use this one, which has more shimmer. So there's like levels of shimmer. I also appreciate that. So there's a variety of textures in here. This one, we're just gonna go like this. Oh, and even that has quite a bit of shimmeriness, and that's not nearly as shimmery as this other one I'm going to try. And you can see that this one is significantly more shimmery, and I am going to put some of that on too. First of all, I want to feel what, so you can see how much brighter that is. I'm kind of placing that on the center of the lid. So I want to blend this out, just blend this line, nothing on my brush. That's just blended. I'm going back into this kind of, like I called it a beigey shimmer, and just do that slightly under the brow. I'm not looking for a crazy highlight there. I'm just looking for something a little bit subtle, just to highlight a bit. I'm gonna dip in here. Quite a bit came off. Again, powder in the pan. I may regret this because I like the way it looks now. I don't wear a lot of black eyeshadow because I feel like I stick the brush there and that's where the black is, and then I can't blend it beyond that. I'm not getting that with this particular shadow. It is not the deepest black, so if you're going for real like hardcore black, I don't know that this would be what you want. But for me, wow, that is really, holy cow. That blended a long way. That's a pretty dramatic look for a Saturday in my jammies, but that's okay. Makeup is your choice. However you want to do it. But when the products are buildable, it is rather nice because it gives you more flexibility that you don't have to be this way or that way. You can work with it in the manner that you want, and I think that's really nice. So this is interesting. This is going to depend, I mean, most makeup does, but I think this one's really going to depend on what you want. Now that I have used it, I feel even more like this is a palette I'm going to use a lot. Because I like some of those more subtle shimmers, but I like the option to use brighter shimmers. You know, I've got a couple of pink choices here. I've got that mauve, which is a pretty standard crease color for me. That brown worked beautifully. A few different kind of gradations in shimmer and shade, and then the dark black, you can, you know, really take it deeper if you want to, but you don't have to. So I think this gives a lot of options. And I also got the Nars Free Lover Cheek palette. I actually got this during the Sephora holiday preview event. And what's interesting is they don't seem to be showing this as part of the holiday collection. I mean, look at this packaging. Is that not holiday? You know, come on. I mean, that is glitter right there. And I've never had a Nars cheek palette. I've certainly had individual blushes, absolutely. They're generally a really good formula. But I've never had one that I felt like, oh, I would use all those shades. But this one, again, I felt like I would. So this is Disco Nights, and I think that is exclusive to this palette. This is Luster. That's a permanent shade for Nars. Crave up here. Final Cut, I know, is a color they've had before. Amour, I believe, is a permanent shade. And Loves Me. Now, that one may have been in a limited edition before, but I don't know that you can get it in any other format than this. And there's no bronzer in here. It's just cheeks, meaning just blushes, 5 blushes, and a highlight. No bronzer. So, Amour. Ooh, definitely powder. So this goes on as I would expect. A Nars blush. Just goes on nicely. I'm going to go in with Disco Nights. This is the highlighter in the palette. I like that highlight. So there we go. So that is it. Do you want swatches of this? Oh, I can swatch this. So you can see the shimmer up here, 2 kind of shimmery shades, and then the variations on pinks and kind of pinky coral, along with the eyeshadows. Oh, that goes together nicely, and I didn't even buy them together or on purpose that way. So, if you're interested in that, it is the Nars Free Lover Cheek palette. So for me, $59, 12 eyeshadows, 1.2 grams each. Lovely packaging. For me, this is a definite thumbs up. But you have to think about, okay, that's $59. Are those colors I would use? Are those finishes I would use? Do I wish they had more punch? Do I wish this or that? You know, you think about all the things. Don't just get caught up in the limited edition or the glittery packaging or the whatever. Really try to take a minute and just think, will I really use that? If it's something that you feel you could reasonably afford, it's a place you'd like to put that money instead of buying some other things, and these are shades that you'd use a lot, you like the fact that you can build them up and there's different textures and their colors that you like, that's great. So that's what I got here in my jammies, and now I'm covered in makeup and my family's still asleep. Thanks for hanging out with me and just talking makeup. I love this stuff. And I hope this was helpful because that's my only purpose here. I hope you have a good day. I'll talk to you soon.